Have you ever wondered if what attracts you could reveal more about you than 1,000 words? That your choice, that impulse that makes your heart lean towards something, is a whisper from your soul. Before you lie 5 keys. They differ in color, shape, and material. Each one seems to unlock a different door. But these doors do not lead to physical rooms. They lead to the deepest parts of you, to the corners of your own psyche, to places you may never have consciously visited, but which constantly influence your life. Carl Jung believed that symbols are the language of the soul, that what we choose, even seemingly at random, is rooted in the deep unconscious, which knows the truth about us better than we know ourselves. That is why I invite you to embark on a journey, but it won't be an ordinary journey. It will be a journey within yourself, through the symbolic choice of one of these 5 keys. Look closely. Don't analyze. Don't think logically. Simply let yourself feel which key draws you in intuitively. Perhaps it's the old iron key, evoking a forgotten memory, or perhaps the crystal one, shining and almost unreal. Each key carries its own story, but you decide which one will be yours. Once you've made your choice, you will discover what that key reveals about your subconscious. What door does it open within you? And what perhaps is it time to confront? This is not a test. It is not a divination. It is a mirror. A mirror of the self, which does not show the face but the soul. Choose a key, just one, and let it speak. The rusty iron key. Your choice is not trivial. Your soul was drawn to something many might overlook. This key does not shine. It does not attract attention with ornaments. It is heavy, cold, rusted. It seems to carry the memory of times long past. But it is precisely in this simplicity that its power lies. It is not the key to a palace. It is the key to the basement of your psyche, to the room where memories reside that your conscious self would rather forget. This key does not choose those who seek to affirm their uniqueness. It offers itself to those who, consciously or unconsciously, are ready to encounter what is most primal within them. Carl Jung spoke of the collective unconscious, a space shared by all humans where primordial images, instincts, and the memories of our ancestors dwell. This key leads precisely there. It is like the whisper of a great-grandparent you never knew, but whose destiny continues to pulse within you. If you chose this key, a part of you longs to reconnect with what has been forgotten. Perhaps it's your family's history, which for generations has not spoken of the pain that was never fully lived. Perhaps it's your childhood, from which you've banished images, emotions, figures, because they were too difficult to bear. Jung called this a complex, a fragment of the psyche that remains alive but in the shadows, far from the light of consciousness. This key is an invitation to descend within yourself, to a place where there are no illusions or masks, where you are who you truly are, without roles or postures. It is the door to your archaic, primal psyche, which lives in rhythm with your ancestors, in the cycle of nature, in the wisdom of instinct. Perhaps you've spent years trying to build something modern, a new identity, success, control over your life. But that ancient part of you was always waiting, like a rusted lock that never ceased to exist. By choosing this key, you may feel unease. You may not even know why it attracts you. But that's because not everything important is expressed in words. What truly matters is expressed in symbols. And this symbol, an old iron key, says to you, enter where you have not yet gone. Find yourself where you left fragments of your soul. Perhaps you are someone who has long lived on the surface. Responsibilities, tasks, expectations have shaped the framework of your daily life. But deep within, something told you there was a depth you hadn't yet reached. Perhaps you didn't dare. Perhaps you lacked time. Or perhaps you were afraid of what you might find there. For descending into the unconscious is not a journey for everyone. It is not a fairy tale about enlightenment. It is a myth about the descent into the underworld. This key may unlock memories that will hurt. It may evoke faces you wanted to forget. But that is precisely the process of integration. Jung called it individuation, becoming yourself by encountering all that you are, including what has been repressed. If you choose this key, your soul is ready to stop running, ready to descend into the basements of your mind and confront what is locked away there. But not to stay there. To return with that knowledge, stronger, more authentic, more truly yourself. It is the choice of someone who understands that a true future cannot be built without reconciling with the past. Of someone who, perhaps, has suffered in silence but now decides to listen to what that suffering truly meant. For it always speaks. You just need to learn to listen. Trust this old key. It will not unlock the lock of illusions. It will unlock the truth. And the truth, though sometimes painful, is the only ground on which a meaningful life can be built. The ornate golden key. Your choice was not random. Your soul sought something that shines, that draws attention, that expresses elegance, complexity, craftsmanship. This key is not a mere tool. It is almost a work of art. Each curve, each arabesque on its surface seems to tell a story. The story of the identity you have built throughout your life. The story of your persona, the mask you wear to navigate the world. Carl Jung defined the persona as an indispensable element of the psyche, the face we show to the world to be accepted, understood, respected. But the more complex, beautiful, and perfect this face is, the more it can hide what is uncomfortable, imperfect, true. By choosing this key, you open the door to the place where your strategies for surviving in society reside. Your roles, your ambitions, your desire to be someone special. It is the choice of a person who has learned to play by the rules, who knows how to make a good impression, who understands the value of beauty, class, and intelligence. But perhaps, at some point, amidst the successes and validations of your worth, you lost touch with what is inner, silent, raw. For the more we build our image, the further we drift from the authentic. The golden key is a symbol of the ego that longs to be recognized, but also of the ego that may be tired of constantly proving its worth. Perhaps you are someone who, from the outside, seems accomplished, strong, balanced, yet deep inside, you feel something is off, that the success you've achieved hasn't fulfilled you, that the relationships you build are not always deep, that there is a kind of hunger within you, a hunger for authenticity, for intimacy, for meaning. This key is not false. It speaks of your need for significance, and that is beautiful. But it also speaks of the illusion that value can be gained through image, through how others perceive us. Jung warned against identifying with the persona, for when we become our role, we lose touch with the soul, with what is wild, untamed, authentic. You have chosen the key that leads to the palace of your psyche, to the hall of mirrors, where the gazes of others are reflected, where you dance roles, learn grace, charm, precision. But when you are alone, can you bear your own gaze? Do you know who you are when no one is judging you? This choice suggests that your subconscious longs for more than admiration. It longs for unconditional love, the kind that doesn't need to be earned. It longs to rest from this constant performance. It longs to remove the decorative mask, if only for a moment, and sit in silence with who you truly are. The golden key is also a symbol of projection. Perhaps you fall in love easily with people who seem perfect. Perhaps you fear seeing the darkness in others because you don't want to see your own. Perhaps you build relationships based more on image than on truth. This key invites you to shed those layers, to show a face that is not polished, the face that has cried, the face that doesn't always know where it's going. This is not a call to destroy your persona. The persona is necessary, but only when it is transparent, when it does not conceal but expresses, when it serves the soul instead of imprisoning it. Think about it. What traits do you try to show the world? How do you want to be perceived? What would happen if, for a moment, you stopped proving your worth? Are you capable of being nobody and still feeling important? This is the key to finding what is fragile in you. For behind the shine often lies the fear of rejection. And behind perfection, a deep insecurity. And that is where the power of this symbol lies. It shows that the greatest strength is born when we allow ourselves to be seen as we are. Perhaps it's time to stop playing the game you yourself created, to take off the golden armor, to look at yourself, not with the eyes of the audience, but with the eyes of the soul. The blue crystal key. Your choice was not rational. It was an attraction of the soul, subtle, almost mystical. This key does not speak loudly. It does not shine with gold. It does not radiate strength. It glimmers softly, emitting a light that does not blind but penetrates. If you chose this key, it means a part of you yearns for something that cannot be expressed in words. An intuitive, profound truth, hidden beyond the surface of things. This is the key of the soul. A key that does not open doors built of bricks, logic, or facts. It leads to a subtle space, a place where symbols, dreams, premonitions, and archetypes intertwine in an invisible web of meanings. Jung called this the collective unconscious, a layer of the psyche that does not belong solely to you, but to all of humanity. From there emerge archetypes, eternal images dreamed by people of different cultures, eras, and languages. And you? By choosing this key, you open the door to this universal space. The blue color woven into your key is the color of spiritual longing. It symbolizes purity, depth, peace, but also a nostalgia for something that transcends the everyday. Perhaps you are someone who has always felt different, more sensitive, more attuned to nuances, more immersed in your inner world. Perhaps you find it easier to interpret others' emotions than your own. Perhaps you often feel things you cannot explain. That is precisely what intuition is. That inner compass that relies not on facts, but on resonances. The crystalline structure of the key is a symbol of perceptual purity. But this purity does not mean the absence of pain. On the contrary, intuitive people often carry within them a deep sadness they cannot tie to any specific event. It is the sadness of the soul that sees the world as it is, beautiful but also broken, full of light but also of shadow. The vine that wraps around the key is a symbol of connection. It shows that nothing in you is separate. Your intuition does not live in isolation. It intertwines with your body, your emotions, your past, your ancestors. You are someone who can sense things from above but also experiences them intensely within. Your dreams may be vivid, symbolic, prophetic. You may have a talent for working with energies, for art, for therapy. But if you are not in touch with your soul, you may feel lost, out of place, too fragile for this world. This key invites you to trust your inner wisdom, not the kind that comes from books, but the kind that arises from silence, from contemplation, from solitary walks, from moments when there is no need to say anything. Jung spoke of the anima and animus, the inner feminine and masculine that represent in the psyche the capacity for introspection, creativity, and spiritual connection. Choosing this key suggests that your soul longs for the integration of these qualities, for a harmony that goes beyond rationality. Perhaps you often feel misunderstood. Your thoughts seem too deep for everyday conversations. The world demands concreteness, action, results, and you dream of simply being. This key does not let you escape reality. It gives you permission to bring something otherworldly to this reality, to live on the border between worlds, the conscious and the unconscious, the visible and the invisible, reality and dream. It is the choice of someone who needs spiritual space, who will not feel fulfilled without finding deep meaning in what they do, who seeks love, but not superficial love, the kind that speaks the language of the soul, that is not afraid of silence, that sees the other not with the eyes, but with the heart. The crystal key says, you carry a light within you, but your task is not to dazzle with it. Your task is to illuminate the darkness, first your own. Your intuition is the door, but to pass through it, you must trust. You must let go of the need for control. You must let some answers come on their own when you are ready. This key does not open doors with force. It opens with a whisper. Trust that whisper. The dark metal key with a stone. This key does not shine. It does not draw attention with beauty. It is heavy, almost overwhelming, made of metal that seems to remember fire, hammer blows, time, and suffering. At its center is a stone, opaque, cold, almost lifeless, and that is precisely why it is so powerful. It is not adorned. It does not promise lightness. It says clearly, if you chose me, you are ready to look at what is most difficult. By choosing this key, you touch the essence of the shadow. That part of the psyche Jung described as everything that has been repressed, denied, rejected. The shadow is not just bad qualities, but also abandoned dreams, unlived emotions, suppressed anger, pain no one wanted to hear. The shadow does not disappear. It grows the more we pretend it doesn't exist. Perhaps you've spent your life learning to be strong, to be good, calm, reliable. Perhaps you were taught that emotions are a weakness, that you must move forward despite everything. But this key shows that your soul no longer wants to run, that you are ready to descend into what has hurt you, into the places in your psyche where you are naked, vulnerable, but authentic. The metallic darkness of this key evokes a mythological journey, the descent into the underworld. Like Orpheus seeking Eurydice, like Inanna, the goddess who descended to the realm of the dead to find her sister. Choosing this key is to embody that personal myth. It is a sign that a part of you demands recognition, that the trauma you've carried in silence no longer wants to remain buried. For everything that has been repressed remains alive, in the body, in relationships, in choices. The stone at the heart of the key symbolizes weight, but it is not a weight that destroys you. It is a weight that says, enough pretending. Perhaps you carry a shame that does not belong to you, passed down by your family, by culture, by people who did not see you as you truly are. Perhaps you've tried to bury it all, and now you feel you can no longer live on the surface. Jung said there is no awakening without a dark night of the soul, that you cannot reach the self without encountering the shadow. But that encounter is not a punishment. It is a healing. For the shadow, though dark, carries the energy of life. In your anger, there is a strength you've never used. In your sadness, a depth no one has been able to embrace. In your fear, a cry from the soul that wants to be heard at last. This key says, don't run, descend, be present. And though it may sound frightening, this is where true transformation begins. Not through positive affirmations, not by pretending everything is fine, but by sitting in the darkness and listening to what has been silenced for too long. Perhaps you feel something crumbling inside you. That's okay. Crumbling is not the end. It is the beginning of something new. In the psychic alchemy Jung described, the crumbling of the ego is the first stage. Only when the false dissolves can something authentic emerge. And you are ready for that. This key will not open the doors to comfort, but to truth, to authenticity, to a strength that does not need to prove it is strong, because it has been through hell and is still here. Perhaps you are someone who has been through a lot. Loss, rejection, disappointment. Perhaps you've carried a pain no one knew about. Or perhaps you are one of those who always helped others but had no one to cry with. This key says, now it's your turn. Now you can be seen. Not as a hero, not as someone who is always enough, but as a human being, wounded but authentic. It is not an easy path, but it is a path that changes everything. For it is only in the darkness that light is born, and only through the darkness can you truly appreciate it. Don't look away. Look at the shadow. It doesn't want to destroy you. It wants you to stop being afraid. The wooden key with vines. Your choice was not intellectual. It was the voice of the body, an impulse of the soul, that recognized something familiar in the texture of the wood, in the softness of the vines, in the organic pulse of life beating in this key. It is a key not forged by man, but grown. It is not a tool created by civilization, but by nature. And that is why it is so special, for it leads to a place civilization has tried to suppress in you, your primitive, instinctive wisdom. Carl Jung spoke of the archetype of the primal human, that part of the psyche that lives in rhythm with nature, that knows the language of trees, that understands cycles, and does not fear change. Choosing this key indicates that your soul longs to return to its roots. Perhaps you've lived too long by the patterns imposed by society, by the clock, the calendar, the expectations of others. But deep within, there was always something that knew life is not a straight line, that it is a circle, a season, a breath, birth and death, light and shadow, movement and rest. The wooden key says, stop fighting the rhythm, trust the cycle. Perhaps you are someone who has always had to be productive, efficient, available, who has measured their worth by what they've done, given, achieved. But now your soul longs for something else, not success, but connection. Connection with the body, with the earth, with breath, with something greater than you and at the same time, deeply yours. This is the key of the healer. Perhaps you have the gift of healing, through your presence, your touch, your listening, your being. Perhaps you feel the pain of the earth, of people, of animals, and for a long time, you didn't know what to do with it. Or perhaps you carry a wound within you that finally asks to be recognized, not to be fixed, but to exist. For the wood of this key remembers every cut, and in those cuts lies its strength. The vines that wrap around the key symbolize life that cannot be controlled. They grow where they want, without asking permission. And so it is with you. Life wants to flow freely. It wants to be reborn. It wants to return to the state where you feel through your senses, not your thoughts. Perhaps it's time to go into the forest, to sit on the earth, to touch the breathing skin, to remember that you are part of nature, not a separate individual, but an element of a greater whole. This key also speaks of instinct, that inner force that knows before you do, that feels before you name it. In a world that glorifies reason, instinct has often been seen as primitive, but it is precisely what saves lives, what protects, what says no, when your head says yes. Perhaps you've spent years learning to ignore that voice, but it has never gone silent. It returns now, as a whisper from the soul, as a tightness in the stomach, as a dream you cannot ignore. Jung wrote about the process of individuation, of becoming oneself. But you cannot become yourself if you cut yourself off from nature, from the body, from instinct. This key says your path does not lie in skyscrapers or social success. It lies in the forest, in the earth, in the roots. Perhaps you are someone who longs for simplicity, for a daily life full of meaning, for a rhythm that does not exhaust but nourishes. It is also a symbol of healing the inner child, the one who ran barefoot, who looked at the sky, who marveled at a butterfly. Perhaps that child is still within you, waiting for you to give it a voice again, to stop demanding and start listening, to stop controlling and start trusting. This key does not open the doors to another world. It opens the doors to a world that has always been there, but from which you were separated. A world where you can be instead of do, Breathe instead of speak. Love instead of merely fulfilling obligations. By choosing this key, you decide to return to yourself, to your body, to your instinct, to the earth from which you came and where you will one day rest. You don't need to know the answers. You only need to listen to the rhythm. Conclusion. You have chosen a key, the one that, at this moment in your journey, felt the most authentic, the closest, the most alive. Though different in form and energy, they are all part of the same secret. Your subconscious, your soul, your truth. Carl Jung said that the world of symbols is the world of the soul, and the choice you made is not random. It is an invitation to find what is deepest, truest, and most powerful in you. Each key is a door to another room of your psyche, to another part of your being waiting to be discovered. Perhaps a door to the past that continues to influence your life. Perhaps a door to your persona, which sometimes must be dismantled to see your true face. Perhaps a door to intuition, whose voice is drowned out by the noise of daily life. Perhaps an entrance to the dark and unknown corners of the shadow, which hides the power of transformation. Or perhaps a return to your roots, to the wisdom of nature, to a life in harmony with the rhythm of the heart and the earth. Choosing the key is the first step, but what you do next is up to you. Will you dare to open that door? Will you look beyond the threshold and let the truth about yourself be revealed? Jung taught that only by confronting all parts of oneself can one find wholeness and freedom. Remember that the subconscious is not an enemy, but a teacher. The keys you hold in your hands are an invitation to dialogue with that teacher. Let it be your guide, not your judge. Your journey has just begun, and each door you open will lead you to deeper knowledge and greater love for yourself. Thank you for daring to choose and to listen. May this choice be a light on your path,